All right, so shalom, shalom, hallelujah. So so as the brother was saying, the Apocrypha is a book that Israel now and a lot of the other congregations that we connect with, they subscribe to. We even had a few non-Messianics come out on record and say that they now subscribe to it as well. But what we don't see is we don't see our people in the Christian community subscribing to the book because they kind of condense their own understanding by just sticking with the 66 books, and that's okay. The Most High will reveal it to them in due time. To stretch forth their understanding. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into the Apocrypha. We're gonna be going back and forth from the original, or from the King James version to the Apocrypha, which was actually taken out by the Protestant Church. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit out of the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. If you don't have one of these, please go ahead and purchase you one of these. Please go ahead. You can grab them off Amazon. They got them in a few Bible bookstores, I'm sure of. But please go and grab one of these. It kind of gives you some information on these different books and different, things that's in the Bible. So, all right. I'm trying to figure out. See exactly where it was. Oh, yeah, right. 1870. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. This is out of the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It's in the section of Bible, English versions. All right. And it says King James, or Authorized Version. It says, let me scroll down to what I want. Okay, so it says 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the day were divided into 6 groups, 3 for the Old Testament, 2 for the New Testament, and 1 for the Apocrypha. So if you can see this book here. This is the Apocrypha right here, and once again, 14 books, right? And what he did was he hired 47 scholars, and he divided them up. One group of the scholars was able to translate this here from the Hebrew to the Greek to the English, all right? And this is how we're able to read this book and connect it back to our history, connect it back to the ancestors, or whatever you want to connect it back to. This is what King James did. So the thing that they want to do is discredit him and throw all these different things on him and say he was a homosexual and all of that. We don't subscribe to that teaching, that doctrine. But what we do is subscribe to truth, and we're going to get more truth why this book is applicable today and why we should institute it within our scriptures. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It says, well, I'm not going to read that part right there. So that's pretty much all I wanted right there, was that King James used 47 Hebrew scholars and he divided them up, right? All right. So what I want y'all to go ahead and do is turn your books over to the book of Romans. Book of Romans chapter 15. You feel like reading out? Feel like reading? All right. How long you feel like it out? So we're going to go to the book of Romans. You all right? All right, he said he got a voice of many waters, y'all. All right, so the book of Romans, chapter 15. All we want out of there, Ach, is verse number 7, I believe. Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me verse 4 out of there, Ach.
Romans 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
All right. So y'all got that, right? For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So this scripture right here is still even applicable to us. And everything that's written aforetime for our learning is everything from Genesis to Revelations. From Revelations back to Genesis. Even the historical books, the Gospel of the Hebrews, Gospel of the Ebionites. You know what I mean? The Gospel, you got different Gospels out there that's written for our learning. right? But a lot of people won't get those learning tools if they don't subscribe to these books, do the same research that we're doing. They won't be able to connect the scriptures. All right. So just a brief history on the actual things that took place through our history. You had 4 different empires that were set up, right, in the Bible, what we can read in the book of Daniel. Who's all familiar with those 4 different empires or kingdoms? All right. So when you go to the book of Daniel, see this things like this raise a red flag. Things like this should raise your awareness. When you go to the book of Daniel, it talks about Babylon, right? It talks about a statue, so to speak. And it talks about how Babylon was the head of gold on that statue, right? Then it goes into another kingdom, another rulership that took over the customs of Babylon, right? And it calls them the Medos and Persians, right? Which was depicted as what? Who all knows? The arms and right, the arms of silver, right? Then it goes into another kingdom, right after the Medos and Persians, who conquered not only the Medos and Persians, but it also conquered the Babylonians. The Grecians, right? With Alexander, right? And it says that they are the belly and thighs of brass, right? Then it goes into the other kingdom, which we can read in this Bible. We can read the first 2 in the Bible, and we can read the last kingdom in the Bible, which is the Romans, right? Who conquered not only Grecians, but so forth and so forth, right? And it calls them the legs of iron. Now, when you look at that statue, you say, okay, I can read about the Babylonians in the scriptures. I can read about the Medos and Persians, but I cannot read about the Grecians. Why is that? Because they took that out of our history. But where you can read it at here is in the Apocrypha. And what we're going to do is we're just going to bounce back and forth just to touch on some little things here and there or whatnot. But it's going to just open up, you know what I mean, the awareness that maybe we should be subscribing to these other 14 books, all right? All right, so Romans 15:4 again, one more time. Go ahead.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
All right, so now let's get into the meat of things. Let's get into our Hamashiach himself. You know that we know that all of the Messianic camps or whatnot, they subscribe to Hamashiach. They'll tell you to your face. I subscribe to him. That's who I believe was my Savior. So now let's get into his exact words and the things that he was saying in his walk. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 5. Just cover a few things real quick. The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 17. When y'all there, y'all can say hallelujah. If y'all still turning, we'll wait.
Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
The who?
The prophets.
The law or the prophets. Where can we find the law written at, ladies and gentlemen? Old Testament. The first 5 books of Moses, from Genesis to the book of Deuteronomy, right? So he didn't come to destroy that. Go ahead, Ach.
I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
So he said, I am not come to destroy the law or the prophets. Where can we find the prophets at? Old Testament, right? Written in the Tanakh. Where else can we find the prophets at? In the Apocrypha. So if we subscribing to this book here saying, I can find the law here, I subscribe to it because I can see the law. And I can receive it better. And I can see the prophets from Jeremiah to Isaiah and so on and so forth. That's why I subscribe to this book. They connect right to the law. They ain't saying nothing different. Right? Then how much more would it be if we can show you that Hamashiach was even quoting from this? And he just told you he ain't come to destroy neither one of the two. All right? So that's one instance right there that the Mashiach said that. Let's go to another one. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 24. And I think it's verse 44. That's what I want. I just the 44th verse. The book of Luke, chapter 24, and verse 44. All we want to do, we just want to show that the Hamashiach himself brought these things up, you know, and that they can be found written in these different documents. And all it takes is just research, just prayer and meditation to see if these things are so. But when we start getting into these other things, you'll see it's connected right to the law. And that's how we're able to broaden our discernment, our understanding, or whatever the case may be on it. Go ahead, Ach.
Luke 24 and 44. Mm-hmm. And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled.
Hold on. He said, These are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you. Right? Go ahead.
That all things must be fulfilled.
All things must be fulfilled. Fulfilled how? Fulfilled where? Fulfilled through who? Fulfilled concerning him. Right? Go ahead.
Which were written in the law of Moses.
In the law of Moses, go ahead.
And in the prophets.
So Hamashiach is telling you once again, these things are written in the law and the prophets. Go ahead.
And in the Psalms concerning me.
Concerning me. So this lesson right here, right? This lesson right here is going to be able to open up awareness for the non-Messianic community. Because what they'll do is they'll say the Old Testament, Old Testament, Old Testament, and even to the brothers that do subscribe to this, we're going to show you that it's things written in the Apocrypha that still concern Hamashiach. It's things written in here that the Hamashiach subscribe to. So now you have to now give an account and say to yourself, well, maybe I do need to start following the teachings of Hamashiach. If I follow this, you can't just be one-sided now. But we'll leave that with them, though, to take hold on to with the Most High. All right, so that's all I wanted, just the words from the Mashiach. All right, in that regard, let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 6. So he said the law, which is written in the first 5 books, and the prophets. We can't find all the prophets here in this King James 16:11 version. Y'all. Don't use vain repetitions as the heathen do. Go ahead.
For they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him.
Okay. All right, so verse 7 says, but when ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Now let me ask y'all this question. The things that we can't find in the law that Hamashiach spoken of, would you perceive that he's making it up himself, just Johnny on the spot? Like, okay, like when he see an incident take place, he's just making it up. Like, okay, I'm going to just tell him whatever I feel. No? Why is that? I'm just opening it up to y'all. Why is that? Okay, you led by the Father. That's a good one. What's another one? Why don't we believe that he's just coming on the scene? it up, right? The Hamashiach said you have to measure to others how you want to be measured to, you know what I mean? Like yourself. So you can't judge these people based off how you feel. Because guess what? If that's the case, we'll be utterly destroyed right before the Most High. Because we're wicked behind closed doors and we're righteous in the congregation. So what he's saying is don't do these things, just telling us to be aware, but he got it from somewhere. But let's go to, before we go to where he got it from, let's just use the precept to show that Hamashiach, by the prophet, showed that he was not going to come and speak his own words. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 11. Now, mind you, he said, I ain't getting rid of the prophets or the law. And everything has to flow. This is why the word is like living water. It's supposed to flow out. When you turn that water on in your house, it flows out, right? When it starts hesitating to come out, you start thinking like, oh, I need a new filtration system or something like that. I need something new. When Hamashiach on the scene, his stuff is flowing like living water. It's like non-stop, continuous. You know what I mean? Not even just through him, but through the whole scheme of things, through the prophets and so on and so forth. All right, so what I say, Isaiah 11?
Yeah.
All right. Start at verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yahweh. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
Right. So this is foretelling about Hamashiach. Did y'all catch that? It says, and the spirit, verse 2, and the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him. The spirit of wisdom, right? Take note of this. The spirit of wisdom, that's 1. Understanding, that's 2. Spirit of counsel, that's 3. And might, that's 4. The spirit of knowledge, that's 5. And the fear of Yahweh, that's 6. And just the spirit in general of the Most High, that's 7 different spirits. When you fast forward to the book of Revelations, I believe it's 12? When it talks about he had 7 candlesticks, 7 golden candlesticks. That was equivalent to the 7 spirits of the Most High dwelling. It only fit Hamashiach. Doesn't fit King David. Doesn't fit any of the prophets. So right here is foretelling about Hamashiach. And then in verse 3, watch this. And he shall make him of quick understanding. Right? This could go so many different ways. Quick understanding. What being, right, was born and had understanding like right away? Right away. What being can we think of? What human being can we think of? Something to think about. It says, in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge after the sight of his own eyes or his eyes. So if Mashiach don't judge from his eyes, he don't got feelings. He go back to the law. The Pharisees want to commit adultery or set up they little words and stuff like that to set up ways to break the law, and he hit them right with the law. Going right back to the law. But what David do when Naaman came to him and gave him that parable? Who remember that? When he gave him the parable about the rich man and the poor man.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
David was ready to kill him. He said, bring him to me. Who is this man?
Right. He judging off his emotions and feelings. He ain't get no witnesses on it. Right. Oh, get him. He need to die. Right. That man is you. Backfired on him. That's why it ain't good to do that. Gotta go back to the actual law. So we know that this scripture is talking about Hamashiach in that regard. It says, where was I at? So he don't judge out the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. Remember when they told him, they said it's a woman that was caught in the act, committing adultery. He hearing that, and he ignoring them. Then when the woman came, he asked her what was the accusers, because they ended up leaving. But he ain't judge her and say stone her, because of what he heard. So, just to let y'all know that that's talking about Hamashiach right there. So he don't judge out of the sight of his own eyes or his ears. Now let's go to the book of Sirach and Ecclesiastes. So that was like a little sidebar, you know, history snippet or whatnot. But we right back on it though. And this is pretty much a precept of what we just read in the book of Matthew chapter 6 about vain repetitions, standing in the synagogues. So we in the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 7 and verse 14. What you say, Ach? Oh, yeah. Actually, we can, okay, we can just read verse 14, Ach, when you get there.
Use not many words in a multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when thou prayest.
So, this sounds like the same thing Mashiach said when he hit the scene. This is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 7 and verse 14. So we precept this with the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 5 to 8. And we say, okay, that's where he's getting that from. Because when you read Sirach, my Ach Justin down in Louisville say Sirach is like Proverbs on steroids. You read up in here, it'd be like, whoa, I never knew that was equivalent to that. I never knew that was talking about that. You know what I mean? It's so much wisdom within. You know what I mean? So we see Mashiach is kind of quoting from that account right there, right? Let's go to another one. Go to the book of Matthew, chapter 23. See Yahoo, chapter 23. It's in the same book. Matthew chapter 23, and all I want right there, Ach, is verse 37. Pay close attention to this one right here.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 37.
Go ahead.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not.
So, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often, pay close attention, would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. I give a Hebrew $100 right now if you can find where he took this from in the King James 1611 version. No, in this one, just the 66. Yeah, just the 66. All right. Now let's go back to the Apocrypha. Remember I said we're going to bounce back and forth. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra, chapter 1. So Mashiach is saying that he has gathered us together as a hen gathering the chickens. He's using the allegory. And who did he come for in the book of Matthew 15 and 24? Who did he come for? Yeah, but hold that though. Who did he come for in the book of Matthew 15 and 24? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he's gathering us together as a whole, as a hen would gather her chickens. Look it up. Look up how a hen gather her chickens. You're going to be like, wow, that's amazing. They be spread all over the place. Real. And the hen lift up them wings and come on. And they come. It's amazing how the allegory was used. So 2nd Ezra chapter 1, we're going to actually start at verse 1. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I want to point out something right here. 2nd Ezra chapter 1, and just read verse 1. Then we're going to jump down to verse 28.
2nd Ezra, verse 1, or chapter 1, verse 1. The second book of the prophet Esdras.
The who?
The second book of the prophet Esdras.
So we now know, based off biblical interpretation, biblical definition, that Ezra was a prophet. Now Mashiach say, I ain't come to do away with. Now jump down to verse 28 and let's see where he got that particular verse from.
Thus saith the Almighty Lord, have I not prayed you as a father his sons, as a mother her daughters, and a nurse her young babes?
Go ahead.
That ye would be my people, and I should be your Elohim. That ye would be my children, and I should be your father. I gathered you together as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings. But now what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face.
Who was the representative of the Most High? None other but his son Hamashiach. So that answer you gave, great answer. Because he's getting that information from his father directly. They're on one accord. They are a chat from Yahweh. He's getting it from the mother principle and the father. And it's coming right through him. The same spirit that they bringing forth is coming right through him. And he's telling you exactly what's taking place during his time. And that's the Most High. Just telling you what he was trying to do way back in the time of Ezra. Now I'm going to send my son to do the same exact thing. I turned them before my face. I sent them into captivity. They went in a few different captivities at this point, a few different occupations. Now I'm just going to send my son to do it in like manner here on earth in the flesh. Verse 30 one more time. That was deep right there. Verse 30 one more time. So I don't know if the people that don't subscribe to this book, which they should, I don't know if they got it out. One more time.
Second Esdras, chapter 1, verse 30. I gathered you together as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings. But now, what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face.
Show of hands who all want to be gathered together under them wings. Now, if we did this, and we were sitting among some non-Messianic brothers, they going to say the same thing. All right, so you want to be gathered in the wings, right? So now you got to be gathered with Hamashiach. It's a trick question with them. This whole study is a trick study for them. Only for them to look themselves in the mirror and say, well, it is in there. It is. It's there, and I subscribe to that. Now you got to subscribe to the whole thing. Let's continue. Do I want this one? Stay in the same book. Matthew 27. Matthew 27. Pick it up at verse 43. 1 second, I'll give the people a chance to get there. When y'all there, just give me a hallelujah. Matthew 27, verse 43.
Matthew 27, verse 43. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will save him, for he said, I am the son of Elohim.
Read that one more time, Mark.
He trusted in Elohim. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the son of the Elohim.
He trusted in him, in Elohim. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the son of Elohim. Right? Keep that in mind. Back to the Apocrypha. The wisdom of Solomon. Keep that in mind. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Verse 14. This right here is talking about somebody, but y'all let me know. I don't know who it's talking about. Y'all let me know who y'all think it's talking about. Matthew 27 and 43. He trusted in Elohim. He delivered him now, or let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he hath said, I am the son of Elohim. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 14.
He was made to reprove our thoughts.
He was what?
He was made to reprove our thoughts.
Was David made to reprove our thoughts? Give me a list. I need some names. I need some names. Was Abraham made to reprove our thoughts? Okay. Was Isaac made? Jeremiah? What about Daniel? Oh, he was made to reprove our thoughts. Or my bad, David. Back to David. He was made to reprove our thoughts. Look at the allegory. He hit Goliath with that rock right in the forehead. He reproved his thoughts. What? Boy, y'all be reaching. What verse is that? Somebody said, what verse is that? So, verse 14 again.
He was made to reprove our thoughts.
Verse 15. My bad. Go ahead.
He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men.
For his life is not like other men. Go ahead.
His ways are of another fashion.
This dude that he talking about is on a whole nother level. He said his life was not like other men. This lesson, I'm telling y'all, it's a trick lesson for the non-Messianics. It covers a lot of other things too, such as the virgin birth. Said that his life was not like other men. The spirit resting upon this man is like unto none other. He got a whole different fashion. But I'll leave that to y'all. I'll leave this verse right here only for y'all can do y'all research and see who it's talking about. Don't be biased. Go do your own research and see who it's talking about. But it's clear, cut, and dry though. Who it's talking about, right? Maybe we can pick up on some more precepts later on down the line to combat with that. Or to correlate with that. My bad. All right, let's go back to the King James 16:11. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 14. And when we there, we're going to go to verse 13 and 14. Luke chapter 14.
Luke chapter 14, verse 13. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee. For thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just.
Okay. So, we seeing that Hamashiach with his own words is saying, but when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, that thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee. For thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. All right? Let's see where he got that from. Let's go to the book of Tobit. See where Mashiach keep on getting this stuff from. What are you talking about, Yahweh? I'm like a disciple right now. What are you talking about? Where are you getting it from? Nah, but what I say? Tobit? Yeah, Tobit chapter 4. Pick it up at all I want is right there. All I want is verse 7. Chapter 4 and verse 7.
Book of Tobit, chapter 4, verse 7. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor.
Any who?
Any poor.
Go ahead.
And the face of God shall not be turned away from thee.
Don't that sound like what he just said here in the book of Luke? Let's recap. Book of Luke 14 and 13. You don't got to go there. But if you are already there, just read along. But when thou makest a feast, what feast is he talking about? Just something that we doing in general. Or maybe the feast days. We don't do what, I'm not going to put a name on it, but we don't do what some of these camps do. They might make a feast and bring in everybody, but then they might have stipulation. No Africans can't come in. What if the African is a poor individual who want to serve the Most High? Definitely no white man coming in here eat my barbecue. Ain't eating my stuff. Nope. But maybe that individual is poor, lame, blind, and wanted. But he said, when you make us a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, and the blind, and thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense you. For thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. And Tobit 4 and 7, it kind of correlates right with it. Give alms of thy substance. And when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious. Right? Neither turn thy face from any poor. That didn't have a race on it. It said any poor. The status was poor. And the face of Elohim shall not be turned away from thee. That's the recompense of the just, or the recompense of the what it says. That's the recompense of the resurrection of the just. That's how we get to that. We follow the law, statutes, and commandments. We love our neighbor as myself. We just deal kindly with any individual that we can deal kindly with. It's called humanity. And this is how the Most High is going to be able to return these things back to you by ushering you into the kingdom. So Mashiach is, right along with Tobit. We see thus far. He's right along with Ezra. He's right along with Solomon. Let's continue. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 10. And all we want out of John chapter 10 is verse 22. And while y'all going there, it was something in second Ezra. We can read it later though. That I wanted to we could have continued. Well, on your spare time, when you read the book of second Ezra, that scripture that I gave, just continue to read down. It'll really show you like that it was talking about the Son of the Most High, which is Yahshuah.amishadiyah. So on your own time. But what I say, the book of John, chapter 10. Yup, verse 22. You already know.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter.
All right. So who's all familiar with the feast of dedication? Who's all not familiar with the feast of dedication? Raise your hand high. Need to see. All right. So the ones that are not familiar with the feast of dedication, the feast of dedication, right? If we, it wasn't a particular law that we should keep. It was just a tradition for Israel, and the reason why is because when the temple was broken down, right? We went to rebuild the temple. All right. We went into you got to think the Northern Kingdom. We went into the Assyrian captivity in like 721 BC, and then Judah was actually attacked by the Babylonians in about 580 something BC, or was they actually about 586 BC, right? They was just attacked, right? Or was it a little before that? It was a little before. Both? You say both? Okay, I thought it was like a time frame between 586 and like 590 something where they was just attacked and then conquered.
It was 606 was the first time. But
Okay, that's it.
People that had skills.
That's it. Okay, so in 536 BC, about 50 years later, the temple was starting to be rebuilt. During that time, it was the start of it. And then in 516, somewhere around that time BC, the actual temple was rebuilt. So from that time forward, we went to go and keep a feast in Jerusalem to dedicate, the rebuilding of the temple. So when Hamashiach hit the scene, you know what I mean, he was able to, you know, still go back and forth, you know what I mean, go to Jerusalem and keep the Feast of Dedication, so to speak. All right? So, but where could we find the Feast of Dedication being kept? Because we can't find it here in the Scriptures. That was basically my point I was trying to get to. Not going to be able to find it here in the Scriptures only this one time, if I can think of, that I've seen thus far. You got to go. Go ahead.
Just to make the connection real quick, he asked who was familiar with the Feast of Dedication. Some people raised their hand and said they were not familiar with it, but let me ask this. Who's familiar with the festival of Hanukkah? Anybody familiar with that? Hanukkah? The word, okay. Well, just so you know, Hanukkah and the Feast of Dedication are the same celebration. All right, that's the same thing. So go ahead.
Yup. And I told out Yah for you know, putting that on your heart. But I definitely, man, this right here was like the icing on the cake for me to see Hamashiach doing the Feast of Dedication, even in his time walking on the earth. But to also see that it was documented here in the book of Maccabees. So what we're gonna do is go back to the Apocrypha, and we're gonna go to the book of Maccabees, chapter 4, and verse 59 only, just to cut to the chase. But you can read this whole chapter on your spare time to kind of get the gist of it all. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doc.
John?
Yeah, he read John. He read John already. Didn't he? You want us to read? We can read it over. John chapter 10 and verse 22.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter.
All right, so the Feast of the Dedication was mentioned there in the book of John, or Yachanan. And the only place we'll be able to find that is going back to our ancestral book, our historical book, which is the Apocrypha. So we're going to go to the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4. And we're going to just read verse 59. Hold on, now. Okay. Yeah. Chapter 4, verse 59.
Moreover, 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 5 and 20th day of the month, Caslu, with myrrh and gladness. Mirth and gladness.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, because this is a whole lot to really expound on your spare time, if you have an Apocrypha, you can even look it up online. You can go to the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, and read the whole conclusive of, the whole story conclusively. You know what I mean? You can just get the whole gist of it, or whatever the case may be. But that's pretty much what it was. It was us going to Jerusalem to keep a feast of the temple, being broken down. And if you want to go ahead and expound on it, though, I know you love speaking on it. But,
I'll just say, I'm not going to expound on the whole thing, but just kind of throw out the question that if you're reading in John and the Messiah, it said that it was the Feast of Dedication. And the only books they give you is from Genesis to Revelation. Without these 14 extra books, you'll never know what the Feast of Dedication is. All it says in John 10 and 22 is it was the Feast of Dedication, assuming that the readers of this word already know what the Feast of Dedication is. Everybody would know what the Feast of Dedication is if they didn't remove 14 books from our scriptures. Because within those 14 books, it explains everything about the Feast of Dedication that the Messiah was keeping during this day. So, just to kind of reiterate that, and we'll go about it later. But like you said, that could be like an assignment for the people that don't know. Just read the 1 Maccabees chapter 4. If you got any questions, come back.
Hallelujah. All right, so now we kind of transitioning a little bit. We getting ready to be wrapping it up here shortly. But Paul's epistles, right? Paul's epistles are very to a person that really doesn't read precept upon precept, line upon line, to a person that really doesn't take the time to connect the old with the new, i.e. the Christians who really don't like going back to the old, the letters are be hard to really understand. You know what I mean? Just like the scripture says, you know, they're going to wrestle with Paul's words to their own destruction. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to even show how Paul was even, you know, quoting from this book. Because like he said in Romans 15, those things that are written aforetime are written for what? Our learning. So what we're going to do is we're going to transition back over to Romans. We're going to go to Romans chapter 9. Book of Romans chapter 9. And when we get there, we're just going to read verse 21.
Romans chapter 9, verse 21. Hath not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor?
All right, so let me ask y'all a question. Based off biblical understanding, who is the potter?
Father.
Father, right? Who is the clay?
People.
His people. His nation. Let's go to the book of Isaiah real fast. Just real quick. I wasn't going to go here. Isaiah chapter 64. And all we need is verse 8 out of there.
Isaiah chapter 64.
Chapter 64 and verse 8.
But now, O Yahweh, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou our potter, and we all are the work of thy hands.
So you're seeing from the time of Paul all the way back to the time of Babylon that this is kind of connecting right with what Paul is saying, or this is connecting with what he's saying. But what about when we read here in the Apocrypha, right? Before Paul hit the scene, and these things have to be written even for their learning, right? Wisdom of Solomon, right on. Wisdom of Solomon, let's go to the Apocrypha. We'll go to the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. Actually, chapter 15, verse 27. So, it was things written for our learning in the time of the Grecian occupation as well. History just keep repeating itself. There's nothing new under the sun. What you say, y'all? Okay, I'll read it. I figure that's how it be online sometimes. Yeah. All right, so the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 27, and it reads. Might be 14. Hey, is it 14?
For the worshiping of idols, not to be named.
Oh, okay. It's actually chapter 15, verse 2, and 7. Apologize about that. So,
Wisdom of Solomon,
15, verse 2.
Chapter 15, verse 2. For if we sin, we are thine, knowing thy power. But we will not sin, knowing that we are counted thine.
And read verse 7.
For the potter, tempering soft earth, fashioneth every vessel with much labor for our service. Of the same clay, he maketh both the vessels that serve for clean uses, and likewise also all such as serve to the contrary. But what is the use of either sort? The potter himself is the judge.
Right. So right here, Wisdom of Solomon, we're reading that the potter, of course, is the Most High, and he makes it's a distinction between what he make this portion of clay for and what he make this portion of clay for, right? So even the Malachim and a spiritual metaphorical representation, even they would be considered likened to the clay, because he made righteous Malachim for this. He even made evil Malachim for this. So he make this Malachim for this, and a contrary Malachim for that. He make the nation of Israel for this, to be a chosen people, and he make these other nations to do their duties as well. So we're all the workers of the work of his hand, on the heavenly scale and earthly scale. What Paul is showing here is that he understands who the potter and who the clay is, based off what's written aforetime. Even Solomon knows, based off what's written aforetime, and so on and so forth. All right, let's continue though. Let's get into we're gonna get 2 more scriptures though, and then we done. All right, the book of Romans, chapter 11. We back in Romans. Romans chapter 11. And all we want there is verse 34.
Romans chapter 11, verse 34. For who hath known the mind of Yahweh, or who hath been his counselor?
Right, so that's just a very simple scripture that I wanted to throw out, because when I came across it, I said, well, it's kind of obvious or whatnot. The answer to that question, those questions, is kind of obvious, but you don't have to go here. I just wanted to just point this out real quick. In the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and verse 13, it was kind of like the similar question being asked here. So the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and 13, it says, for what man is he that can know the counsel of Elohim, or who can think what the will for Yahweh is? So it's just like a question that's being asked by Paul, but a lot of people just feel like, even Paul was making up his own stuff, but Paul went right back to the Wisdom of Solomon, and got it right up out of there. And all he's doing is regurgitating it in righteousness. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But this last one right here is a good one. It's an eye opener, for the nation of Israel, for us as a people. And it's real sacred if you just read this chapter and you get to this particular verse. It's real sacred if you don't subscribe to this book. So we're going to go to the book of Hebrews. It's going to be the last scripture. Book of Hebrews, chapter 11. In verse 35. One second, Book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and verse 35. So if an individual is just reading this book, once again, this particular chapter, and they come across this verse right here, it'll be real sacred to them. They won't really understand what it's saying. They'll probably just make up something to just make it fit, their particular understanding at that time. But go ahead. I can go ahead and start.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 35. Women receive their dead raised to life again.
They do what?
Receive their dead raised to life again. And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
Let me ask y'all a question. Not you, Rayvon. Not y'all, Ach over here. Yes, y'all. Not you, Ach. Not you, Ach. Who understands this particular verse right here that Paul is saying? Let's read it one more time.
Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
So in other words, what women in the scripture you could think of that received their dead, raised to life again, right? They got to fit all these categories. And unto others were tortured, accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Say Lazarus. Did they receive the dead? Did they, like, when we say receive, did they accept it? Like, okay, it is what it is. I understand the greater cause of what's happening right here. The Marys?
When Christ
Right. All right, that's one of them. I can go with that one.
What if everything changed after that?
Right, that's one of them. Let's eliminate Hamashiach.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's almost like a more than just the Marys received that. All right, mothers in the house, all mothers in the house, or fathers. If you watch your child be tortured, or can, first of all, the first question is, can you watch your child be tortured before your eyes? Like brutally tortured, top to bottom. All right. Let's just cut to the chase then. Huh? Okay. All right. Let's go to an incident in the Apocrypha. Let's go back to the Apocrypha. It's going to be the last verse in the Apocrypha. Go to the book of Maccabees. Chapter 7. Second Maccabees, yup. Salakia, good looking out, Ach. Second Maccabees, chapter 7. See, Mashiach is different with him because he was actually telling, you know, and the scriptures is actually telling us what's going to take place. So it's easier to brace yourself for that. Second Maccabees 7. We're gonna pick it up at verse 1. So it's easier to brace yourself for that. But somebody just came into your house, start grabbing your children or whatnot, and they told you what they was going to do, and you know and understand that my household is righteous. You know. Now you got it. Yeah. All right. So you like my household is righteous. I know at the end, you know, we're going to meet as long as we keep doing what we need to do. But you still, in a whole nutshell scheme of things, you still won't be able to receive it. I wouldn't. I don't think nobody in here would. Even if you know the greater cause. But let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 7, pick it up at verse 1.
It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken, and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh.
To do what?
To taste swine's flesh.
Written in the book of Leviticus chapter 11, we know that to eat swine is an abomination. To touch the dead carcass is an abomination, right? Go ahead.
And were tormented with scourges and whips.
They was what?
Tormented with scourges and whips.
So what Paul was saying was, remember, received their dead, right? Which were tormented to the resurrection. Go ahead, though.
Verse 2. But one of them that spake first said thus, What wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die.
He said, we are ready to die. Go ahead.
Rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers.
So we're not transgressing the laws of our fathers. So just give yourself a visual intake on this situation. You're a mother with 7 children, and this is going on here. It's happening very slow. So slow that they're able to talk back to the rulers and tell them what we not going to do, what we is going to do. Go ahead.
Then the king, being in a rage...
He was in a rage. He was in a rage. So that right there got us all emotional. The king in a rage, he over here in control, and the parents is right now in this room. We get emotional. We ready to jump. But we got to be patient, because the scripture says that he that endured to the end shall be saved. We got to learn how to be more patient out here in America. We got to learn how to be more patient out here in these places. See, we look for the temporary deliverance. That's going to be another study we bring out later. We look for the temporary deliverance sometimes. I just want to make it to see my family. But what if you can get the greater cause right there at that moment? How many of us will take it? I mean, you don't have a choice anyway. If it happened, it happened. But how many of us will be, you know, like, hey, it is what it is? Because at the end of the day, it's a greater cause. But go ahead, though.
Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first.
You talk too much. Cut his tongue out. Go ahead.
And to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on.
Who got brothers in the house? Raise your hand. Would you sit there and watch your brother get his tongue cut out and the rest of his body be burned and cut? We ready to jump. I'm just saying, they watching and they like, man, looking on to it. Go ahead, verse 5.
Now when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire, and to be fried in the pan. And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, The Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth have comfort in us, as Moshe in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, And he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, Will thou eat?
So they asked him, will you eat? We done did this to your brother. He dead. We done pulled off the skin of your hair. Will you eat? Go ahead.
Before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body. But he answered in his own language and said no.
So, in a nutshell, he ain't going. All for the greater cause. So we gonna stop there. But in your spare time, you can also read the rest of this chapter. You get the fullness of what happened to these brothers, and with the mother who knew what would take place at the end. She knew that her sons will get the deliverance that they need strictly by not transgressing the laws of the Most High. All right. So I see a few hands raised up. So what I'll do is I'll shalom this study. I'll say shalom to the viewers that's watching. You know, hopefully this study was an empowerment for the true body of believers of the Most High, Yahshuah. Hopefully some non-Messianic brothers can receive this lesson and be able to go back and do further research. You know, we pray all these things in the spirit of the Most High, that it dwells on all of the righteous individuals, that they go back and look at this information and expound their knowledge, wisdom, and understanding within the scriptures that they want to take from us, so that we won't be able to see situations like this and overcome this temptation that the world is bringing forth on us. So with that, I'll just say shalom, shalom. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions and concerns on the lesson. Go ahead. You got your hand up.